Welcome back to Basic SEO for Busy Vacation Rental Professionals. In video 2, we'll talk a little about some of the technical side of things in SEO. SEO is both a science and art. It involves some technical optimization, but don't worry, we're not going to talk coding. Anyone can do what I'm about to share with you, so be sure to watch all the way through to the end. Okay, now let's talk about the technical aspects of SEO. So you might be thinking, I have an IT person, shouldn't they understand SEO? Well, the short answer is no. I've worked with countless experienced developers in my career, and none of them were taught SEO. It's just not part of their curriculum. Code is code, and SEO isn't something they're trained to know, because it's marketing. So let's talk about what's critical for you or your developer to know about SEO. By the way, I would highly encourage you to share this with your IT person. It will make them more valuable in the long run. Okay, there are 3 components of SEO. We talked previously about the on-page factors, the off-page factors, and finally the SEO part that we're going to talk about right now, which is the technical parts of SEO, which can and should be during your website build, during any regular monthly maintenance checks, any big change to your site, including migration or moving your site from one domain to another. It also might include redesigning your site, adding new pages. All of these are technical changes that occurs to the site. If you make it a habit to include the things I'm about to share with you throughout this video, you're going to be good to go. Now, if we talk about listing site independence and SEO, we need to understand how your website is actually built. Why? Because if you don't own that platform, any other entity such as Weebly, Wix.com, or Blogger, for example, can choose to do and change things on a dime whenever they would like to. So if you don't have your own hosting account, it's a pretty good indication you don't own that digital asset. Having your site as SEO friendly as it can be is owning it entirely, and that will free you again from having to be reliant on some of these other properties that you have no control over. If you host your website using WordPress, which is free and easy, and it's very easy to set up and as I said, hosting as well, that is the best way to go. If you already have a WordPress site hosted with a hosting provider like Bluehost or some other hosting provider, I encourage you to listen on as I describe how we go on about optimizing your website with WordPress plugins and other easy to implement tactics. The intent of this video is not to overwhelm you, and I really hope I haven't overwhelmed you to this point, but I want to point out those areas you need to be aware of. If you do not have a website, or if you're just getting started and you don't know what to do first, make sure you get a web presence established. I list some resources if you need some support in building your site. Whether you do it yourself or hire someone to build a site for you, it's very important to own your own digital real estate. Now, there are many things you should consider when building your site. For the sake of this video, I will assume you're using WordPress as your content management system. There are WordPress plugins meant to help improve your site's overall SEO, and that is key to building your long-term listing site independence, brand, trust, and authority from your visitors and the search engines. Hosting and registering your domain should be well thought out. Where is your site being hosted? Did you register a domain that is predominantly found in your country? For example, if you're in Canada, having your site be myvacationrental.ca would be far more beneficial than .com. If you're, for example, in some other country, the same would apply, whether it's the UK, .co.uk, etc. You're trying to attract that local audience. A redirect is when your site page was on an old address and is moved to a new address, like example.com/beach to example.com/vacations on beaches. New URL, new address change. The search engines need to know you made a change of address. If you have the wrong one set up or none at all, your site could risk being de-indexed from the search engines or losing traffic to that page. Finally, let's talk about Google Search Console, which was formerly known as Google Webmaster Tools. By setting up this free account for your site, it'll help inform you of how Google crawls and indexes your site. It's a critical thing to implement. It's free and easy. I also have a resource guide that shows you how to do this. I also have a technical audit checklist in addition to the resource guide that you should download, and that shows you how to set up the WordPress plugins. Go ahead, download those now. Make sure you go through those and get that set up this week. On-page SEO is referred to as those things you optimize for on your website. Some of these things are not visible to visitors of your site. There are more than what I've got here, but this is a basic course, so let's just stick to the basics and dig into these one by one. The title tag is what you read first in natural search results. It's one of the most heavier weighted on-page SEO ranking factors. A carefully crafted title tag is key. Each page should have its own unique title tag. The length of the title tag should not exceed 60 characters. Otherwise, the search engines will truncate the title and it won't be readable in the search results. In this example, the brand name is at the end of the title tag, while the targeted keyword, Maui villas and vacation rentals, is right up front. That's important. It also adheres to industry standards and doesn't go too long. The meta description, so this is only seen by your visitors when they perform their search in Google, Bing, or other search engines. It's meant to convert the visitors that scroll through the search results. Use some marketing and include a call to action. Something like what you see here. Rent villas in Maui. Although you could argue a stronger call to action would be better for this, but they also make sure to note the unique features of the property, which is really helpful and highly recommended. Images need descriptors. This is very, very key. Alt tags are an imperative part to your overall optimization of your images. For every lovely vacation rental image you have, you should also have an alt tag. An alt tag is a description of the image in text so that the search engines can read what the image is about. Since the search engines can't actually see images and images are searchable, you want to be sure to include a short descriptive text instead of image123.jpg, which is not descriptive and not helpful. I found this image you see here in Google Images when I searched for Maui property management vacation rentals. The code you see here is what isn't seen by a visitor. Again, just to remind you, this is associated with the name of the image, but it was noticed by the search engines. They can read the alternate text you see, and it's very easy to mark up your images in WordPress. I have a resource guide that will show you exactly how to do this. Internal links do so much to help your visitors and the search engines. Start with this. Notice you've got words listed in blue and underlined in this paragraph. By now, you've come to know, after decades of reading online, what those links to other pages, either in the same site or that you're reading, or maybe they're external sites related to the topic we're reading about. Either way, they help the visitor learn about other related content you have in your site. For example, you write a blog post, and it's about various aspects of your vacation rental property. And you might mention how close to the beach and fishing pier it is. Then you could link out from the fishing pier to your activity page where you go into further detail about the fishing charters that they can sign up for at the pier. Make sense? Okay, the way Google or other search engines works is they follow or spider those links from one page to another. And if you have a few linked, it might look something like this. Ultimately, it's helpful to gain visibility to those other deeper pages in your site that might not be already found in the search engines. This tactic will help those other pages get found in the search engines and will specifically help your visitors learn more about the other products and services that you offer in your site. Okay, how are we doing? Are we good? Everything cool? You're not confused? Awesome. Let's move on. Content on your page. So this particular graphic has been around for years. It is produced by Moz. It goes into great detail of how to properly optimize your page content. Your pages should have text or content that the visitor can read, but also sufficient enough so that the search engines can get a good sense as to what the page is about. It can also be a red flag to the search engines if too many of your pages have what is known as thin content or pages with less than 200 words on a page. That could signal to the search engine that this page isn't as helpful, and it could determine it's not worth indexing the page, particularly if you have low visitation to that page or if you experience a high rate of visitors who bounce from your page. And just so you understand, a bounce rate is just what is calculated by Google and some of the analytics programs. If a visitor clicks through to your site and leaves or bounces in a very short period of time, that's an indication that the more of those that you have, the less likely your pages will rank well in the search engines. So you want to make sure that when someone is clicking through to your page, they're staying in the page and there's some engagement and they're going through your site. Because having a high bounce rate is a signal to the search engines that your content isn't seen as very useful to those visitors. I can't stress enough the importance of relevancy. Your site or category of your page should include content that is relevant to what your visitors are searching for. Your homework following this video is to get your site built if you do not have anything right now to market your vacation rental. And no, your Facebook page is not enough if you want to be listing site independent. Download the free resource guide I have identified here, which are the Technical Site Audit and the Google Search Console Setup Guide. Take your time through these. They will help you get the technical site basics all done. I'm very proud of you. You've completed this much. I'm going to see you in lesson 3, where we're going to talk about local search optimization.